Today I'm going to cover how to buy bonds and CDs on Fidelity and why we consider it sometimes, and things that I look at that I believe are important for us when we purchasing these items. When you log into Fidelity's account, you will go to your home page, and this is not our home page because I don't want to put all our information out there on the internet in public. But you go to the top with news and research, and you have a drop down box. Go to your fixed income bonds and CDs. This will bring you to this page. So right off the bat, I want to go ahead and talk about taxes really fast, and then we'll go from there. So you see a lot of options. Well, if you're in a IRA account, Roth IRA account, 401k IRA account, or traditional IRA, or a regular broker's account, your taxes are going to be affected or not affected. So you need to know that. So if you're in a account you're not really worried about taxes on, then you worry about the yield per se. But if you're worried about taxes, like some of our money is in a taxable account, so I need to take these things into consideration when I buy funds for that account versus my other accounts. So right now, well, it's pretty interesting because literally like 15 minutes ago, CDs were sitting at 4.9, and now they jumped up to 5% on this 3 month. Just pointing that out. So these rates, the market is open currently. So these may change during this video. Can't promise that, but the market is open right now. So anyway, so you want to consider this stuff in consideration for your taxes. So on your taxes, you got your CDs with the bank, so the FDIC insured, and even banks that are from overseas. And I'll talk about that in a minute. So the CD is at 5%. So if I was to put that in my regular broker's account, I would have to be concerned about the interest on it being federally and state taxed. If you buy a U.S. Treasury, if we buy a U.S. Treasury at 5.22% on this 3 month, then I would not have to pay my state taxes. Again, it depends on what state you live in, because you may not even have state taxes, but you don't have to pay state taxes. You have to pay federal taxes if you're in a taxable account. Muni bonds, municipals, right now at 3.82 for a 3 month, you do not have to pay federal taxes, but you will have to pay state taxes depending if you get that muni bond in your state or not. And again, look on each one of these before you buy it to look up that information, and if you have questions, call Fidelity or whatever to make sure before you purchase something you don't understand for tax purposes. Now, why do we buy, or why do I consider even bonds or CDs? Because I'm not a bond fan personally. But when we have cash that's sitting on the sidelines waiting on my next entry in the market, and I have it just sitting there in our checking account or bank account drawing hardly no interest, it's either going to be sitting in Fidelity for their mutual funds I already talked about in a video where I'll stash cash and making a higher yield than I can in our checking account. So I'll sit it there. If I need it really liquid, I may need it within a month or two, I'll leave it there. If what I'm looking at in the market, I say I got at least 3 months or so, then I may look at doing some CDs or bonds to draw a little bit more interest. Now, I'm saying this because just in case people don't understand, this 3 month interest of 5% and this 3 month interest of 5.22%, that is not, you're not getting 5% in 3 months. That is an annualized return. Very important to understand. That is an annualized return. So you have to do the math on those 3 months, or when you go to buy the ticket, you'll see what that is. Alright, now that was discussed. Now let's see, use the CDs at 5% for this next tool. The muni bonds are 3.18 because they don't have to pay federal taxes. They issue those at a lower interest rate, which is frustrating. So instead of trying to figure out the math and figure out, well, is this U.S. Treasury better or is this better because of federal taxes? Again, if you're an IRA, I wouldn't even worry about it. I would go for the higher yields as long as it's a safe holding. And I'll talk about that here in a second. But if you're worried about the taxes, you'll go to, let's see, your CDs are 5%. Go up here to this tool. We got bond tools. And then there's information here to help you out. And then you go to tax equivalent yield calculator. And we can hit CDs, certificate of deposit. Currently it's at 5% right now. Will change, I'm sure, over time. And put in your annual income or whatever. I am not putting in our annual income for YouTube. But anyway, let's try to go with the average family out there. It's possibly maybe 75,000 or so for the average family in the United States. Your federal tax filing status, depending on yourself. Let's say you're married and you're filing jointly. Put that in there. Pick your state. If you're in some of these states, you don't have to worry about state taxes. But if you do, then click these states. I'm fortunate. Our state taxes are not that high. I'm in Alabama. Calculate. And what we see here is this chart pops up. Okay, this is information I put in. This chart pops up to help you out. It helps me out. So a CD at 5% is equivalent to these yields over here. So a corporate bond, I'm looking for a 4.94. In-state muni bond, again, the in-state gets state and federal, should have state and federal, no taxes. Out of state, no federal taxes, but you'll pay your in-state. So the yields will change. A Treasury, a U.S. Treasury, is 4.66 because I do not have to pay state taxes, but I will have to pay federal taxes. So that helps you get these yields. So you can write these yields down when you go to search for whatever you want to hold to see what will benefit you. And this is a great tool to have and kind of a necessity, really, when you're looking in taxable accounts. All right, now where to go from there? Let's say I'm not even worried about the taxes right now. I'm just looking for stuff to fit our needs or to get the best yield. Again, with a lower yield environment, your yields going to be lower. A higher yield environment, the higher the yields going to be. So this still may be something I may want to use in a low yield environment because I'm not getting anything at all in my bank and I want to have money sitting there ready to go. So I may buy this. Now, there's people out there that talk about selling your bonds and saying they're liquid. I would use that word liquid with tongue-in-cheek because it's not liquid like say a stock is or an ETF is or anything like that, or even money in your bank account. A CD is going to be locked up in your CD. The treasuries you will have too. You can sell your bonds on Fidelity before the maturity date. However, the price you get for it may be a loss because you're selling it in the secondary market. So when I buy these, I don't even worry about the selling. I don't consider the selling because I consider it's locked in. That's the way I look at it, and I think probably people should look at it that way. So I just find the dates that meet what I need and go from there. So anyway, let's look at all these. You got yield, bonds, new issues, CDs, annuities, funds, ETFs, and managed accounts. So if you want new issues, go here. But I'm going to look at everything, so click bonds. When you hit bonds, it'll go to U.S. Treasury, CDs, agency, municipal, corporate, and all offerings. I'll click all offerings unless I just want to get a Treasury or a CD. Click all offerings. And then I don't need anything maturing in August right now. So let's go out to the next month, September of 2024. And again, I don't want my stuff for long term. If you like laddering stuff, then you can use this too to set the dates you want. Let's say I don't want to hold it past November because of the way I see the market right now, just in case. Yield, I want it to be at least 4% yield. Here's your credit ratings you can click on if you like. I'm going to leave them alone for now. And I'm going to leave them alone, period. And I'll look at those in a minute. Here's other options. You can drop down. Call protection. I do want call protection on my bonds. Sinking fund protection. I do want that on my bonds. Below my video, like every video I have, click the more in the description and I will leave links to give you some information on this if you don't understand this. Now let's look at we got 871 choices. That's a lot. But trust me, they'll dwindle down really fast in a minute. So at first it pulls up this chart. So I'm going to go hit yield to maturity because it's one of the things I look at. So yield to maturity is 6.513. Again, that is annualized yield. That is not for that time frame. You're not getting 6.5% on a month or so. So there's 6.5. Come over to this column, maturity date. September 1st, 2024. Wow, that's only 2 weeks. And the credit ratings here are A2 and A and A2. So I like the credit ratings and I like the yield to maturity. But I want to bring you over to this column, which I haven't heard, which I don't watch a lot of people's videos because whatever. But I called Fidelity to ask this question to make sure I had my thought process right, and I did. And he had to put me on hold to make sure. So anyway, this column will be important, and this column will be very important. So again, yield to maturity is 6.513. The coupon over here yield, this is a yield, coupon is 1.129. This will come very important when you're looking at your taxes for a muni bond or U.S. Treasury. Because when we get to U.S. Treasuries, you will not get taxed on your coupon interest for your state. So I want to focus on this coupon yield on this column for my U.S. Treasuries more so than I will just the overall yield. When my muni bonds, I want to focus on this coupon yield, if more importantly than I will necessarily this overall yield, if I'm in a taxable account, because this is where I'm getting my tax break. This on this yield to maturity is the difference that you're paying for the price of this bond versus the original list date because it's on secondary market. So think about it as stocks. This is your gains. So if this would be a short-term gain for me and us, so I get taxed like normal income. So if I'm looking for a tax advantages in a taxable account, I need to really look over here at this column as well as this column, not this column, because you may be taxed and get a surprise. So that is very important. And here's something else important. Everything I'm going to show you is important. But anyway, the price and the minimum. The minimum in the bracket show 5. Now these on Fidelity are bought in $1,000 increments. So that tells me what they have for sale. I need a minimum of $5,000 to purchase these because it's a minimum of 5. It does not give me another option, the depth of book. Okay, now right below this, if I was interested in buying, say, this Goldman Sachs bond over here, it is a minimum of 5 for this price. However, if you come over here and you click on this, you'll see if there's any more options. So this is the sale and this is the ask. So on this particular one for buying it, there is no other options other than 5. So you need a minimum of 5,000. So that is something you need to be aware of. So if you don't have 5,000 and you don't want this particular bond, you move on to something else. And see, these are important. So this even has 200 from Ford. So you need $200,000 at a minimum for that. But if you want to buy some and see if they have anything less, you hit price to book, go down to the ask prices, and all of these are 200. So that's something to take into consideration. So you have to keep going down here so you can find anything. If this is what you want to buy, this has got a credit rating of BB negative, which is not that great. Anything above BB plus is fair game, kind of, depending on what you're looking for and the time frame. If it's only matures on September 8th and forward, and it's got call protection and all that stuff, then yeah, I may put a couple $1,000s in there, whatever. That's just me personally, if I wanted that. But anyway, so you go down. This one has 5. You just click that, and ask prices still have 5. So that's the thing with bonds you got to consider. This only needs 1 for GE. And let's see, the coupon is 3.1. The ask maturity is 5.47. And you can buy as little as 1, so a little as $1,000. If you was interested in, say, this one, and you wanted something really fast with this September 1st date, and you was in a non-taxable account and didn't really care about the coupon necessarily, but you get your yield to maturity, and you wanted to buy this and you had at least $5,000, you could buy it. Come over here to buy. Okay, you click buy, this comes up. I'm going to have to black out this area up here for our information. But the depth of book that we just talked about is the only ones that have you to buy would be, you select, is this right here. Oops. Select the ask prices, my bad, ask price, and you get 5. And then this is populated right here at 99.73. And you look right below the word quantity, it says 1 bond equals 1,000 face value. So we had to do 5. I'm not buying these, but I'm going to show you something. When you hit preview order, we get a message. The bond you have indicated you want to purchase is being offered at a discount and may be subject to IRS's whatever minimus rule. Under the minimus rule, tax rule, municipal bond is purchased at a significant discount. The principal gains, so this is warning you about your gains. Your taxes on there may be subject to gains. So this Fidelity always gives you pop-ups if there's something going on you may need to be aware of. So just click that and know that. And then again gives you this caution that the quantity is 1 means 1,000, and it may be all these warnings. Ordinary income, the limit price you entered, adjusted to reflect the mark, the whatever. So the yes is 1 for this right here, but then you have the effective yield of 4.513 because the ask yield was 6.51. Try to explain this when I can. So the effective yield is now 4.51. So you got to look at that when you're doing this. I wish there was a way to do it. I don't know how to do it other than going to click the order. Because there is accrued interest because I am buying it in the secondary market. So I'm buying it from another person or whatever. I'm buying it in the secondary market. So the interest up to this point is getting paid, and it's taken out of our money. So effectively, I am paying $5,016.90 for this if I was to get all 5 of these. Now there is a estimated order value including a $5 markup because on Fidelity charges you $1 or whatever or some fees for these bonds. So in this case is $5. But if you buy U.S. Treasury, there is no fees. So you don't pay any fee by it. You know, it doesn't cost you any fees to buy it on Fidelity for U.S. Treasury. If you click on the description, it gives you information about your features, the call protections to guess, the sink and fund protections to guess, anything else you want to know about this and stuff like that is on here. Your issue date, everything else. Anything you may be issued. And then security features, your state is right here, your federal taxable, yes, subject alternate minimum tax, no, marginable, yes, and all this other stuff. Now if you just want U.S. Treasuries, you can go here and do the same thing. I just put in these dates right here, and there's only 40 available. I'm clicking on, actually if I'm looking at the U.S. Treasuries right here, maturity date September 10th, coupon is 0, and the yield of maturity is 5.365. So this, in a taxable account, would be no advantage to me, for us. Now here is the coupon of 7.5, and the yield to maturity is 3.913. So that means you're paying a premium for this. You're paying more for it because you see right here the quantity price is 100.889, and also you need at least 100 to buy that. So that's $100,000, but you're only getting an actual yield of 3.913 annualized. But you would get a tax break on it as far as your state taxes because the coupon is higher than the yield, equal or higher to the overall yield. You go down one more. It looks like I've already played with that one. Actually, I own that one. That's why it's highlighted purple. I own this one. So the coupon currently is 4.5, and the yield to maturity is 5.106. And you need a minimum of 525 for that. So 525,000 for that one. But you can go to here, like I showed you, and look at the ask, and you can go as little as 1, 5, or whatever here, but your price will change right there. So let's say you want to buy this one. Come back over here to this box. It's already highlighted to that 99,829 right here. It's highlighted right here. So you can put 1. That is $1,000, by the way. Preview your order. Now see, on the US Treasury, there is no fees, 0 fees. But you will do the accrued interest paid up to this date. And so you will have that as well. So your overall cost for one is $1,000, $1,007.39. The effective yield is 5.03. The ask yield is 5.10, but your actual effective yield is 5.03 because it is accrued interest. Now the muni bonds, we have, I think it said 421. Same dates I put in there for muni bonds. So go to yield maturity and drop it down and see how the coupon looks. So this one is a 4.49 and the coupon is 5 and it's Kentucky. I think Kentucky pays state taxes. I think Tennessee pays no taxes, but I think Kentucky pays taxes. But anyways, so it has good credit ratings, but you need 5. There is no debt to book, so you need at least $5,000 to buy it. And you click on it. And right here, security features, federal taxable, no. So you do not pay federal taxes. The state is Kentucky. So if you live in Kentucky, verify this with Fidelity before you buy it. Don't take my word for it, but the way I understand it is if you buy this and you live in the state of Kentucky, you do not pay state taxes either. But if you live in another state, I will pay state taxes on this, but I will not pay federal taxes on this. Okay, if you want to look for CDs, same thing. I put the maturity out in October and then to November 2024. Got 479 CDs available. And then I'm gonna go look at the yield. Highest yield that I see available right now is 5.3 at maturity. It matures on October 8th. And that's an annualized yield again. And you need at least 2, so that means $2,000 at a minimum to purchase this. Sometimes I've found there was not enough for me to even buy. That's another thing you can come into. You may not have enough money to buy what they require at a minimum, but sometimes don't even have enough for the money I have to allocate, so I had to buy multiple things because they don't have enough of them available. So whatever place this is, it's out of Los Angeles, but there is some out of the country. I'm trying to see real quick. I don't see none right now for here, but there was some out of China, and I called Fidelity myself and asked them. I said, okay, China says the CDs in China are FDIC insured. How does that work when it's our FDIC is the U.S. government, but this bank is out of China? What they told me is, yes, the bank is China, but it comes out of New York, and because it's out of New York, they are FDIC will insure it because it's brokers, I guess, comes out of New York. That's what they told me. So that was a question I had that I got an answer to. So now I don't really worry about the country per se, as long as it says FDIC insured. And this one is FDIC insured right here. Call protection, single fund protection, all that stuff. But it's a CD, so as long as the bank don't go under, I should be good. So on this CD, let's say I wanted to buy 2 of these. Then my yield says 5.30. Let me preview the order. It tells you about $250,000 of the FDIC insured. That's another thing that we and people have to be concerned with, is how much you put in each account to make sure your money is covered. So my effective yield is dropped. So the ask yield is 5.3. But because I'm buying this again when at a later date than when this was issued and the maturity date changes, I got to pay a markup. And I also got to pay the $1 for each one. So I'm paying $2 for Fidelity for my fees. So that's what that is. And then I'm also going to be paying a $10.15 accrued interest. So all that takes away, and what I'm actually paying is $2,012.51. Now my effective yield has dropped to 4.65. Currently, with the funds, cash sit currently could change. With the mutual funds and Fidelity, I'm getting I think over 4.9% right now. So I'll just leave it sitting there because it's more liquid versus getting a lower rate to have it locked up for a little while. As always, thank you for watching, but today I wanted to cover some important topics that I came across when I was buying CDs and bonds for the extra cash we had sitting on the side while waiting on the stock market. So the effective yield and obviously the quantity available, because sometimes there's not enough and sometimes the minimum requirement is too high. So there's things you need to consider along with safety that I consider, the credit rating for certain things, and also if FDIC insured for our CD. And I like the call protection, sink and front protection. I'll leave links below like always on this information, and go meet your goals.